China developed a consensus with the Arab world. Where do we stand on Middle East issue and Middle East peace and on Palestine? Palestinians have the right to struggle and to defend themselves. We practice that in China. So it is enshrined within international law. It's not something that you could call it any other thing. That was a very special statement. All other statements did not go that far.
Thank you, Your Excellency. I understand you have been Ambassador of Palestine to China for more than 8 years. Do you mind if you mention briefly the highlights of your being ambassador and the dean in particular of the Arab countries to China?
Thank you, Victor, first for hosting me as I am concluding my tour of duty in the country and going to retirement at the same time as an active diplomat. Well, my journey to China is quite rich and quite interesting. It comes at the end of my career, which I had started in 1989. So it was a long journey. Thank God that it had ended in Beijing. At such a time when China is really witnessing an unprecedented achievements. And not Chinese should be proud of what had been accomplished. But we in the South countries are looking for such a great friend who is empowering all the constituents of those people who were struggling to get their independence, to get their freedom. And now the challenge for them is to achieve development and modernization. China is the most important ally, not only for Palestine or the Arabs, but rather for all countries who had suffered a lot in their past. And now seeing China achieve what it had achieved, that's not only inspiring, but it's going to change the whole dynamics of the geopolitics of the world. It's our hope that our good friends in the West would realize that and accept this fact and try to live with it as a fact which cannot be reversed. So I came to a country where I need to make my case as Palestine and to update China about what do we need at this moment in time, because as you all know and all our friends who watch your program know that we've gone through many stages. China was with us at the first stage. When
Consistent.
the PLO was established in 1965, the chairman of the PLO by that time, Ahmed al-Shukeri, came to Beijing, and when he came here, our embassy, which was PLO office by that time, had been established. And it was the first ever office for PLO established anywhere in the world. So that is a long story between China. Now coming for me in 2016, totally it's a different challenge by that time. Because that time was, our relation was based on the armed struggle, on the national liberation concept. But when I come 2016, the challenges and the profile of the relation has to go that different time, you know. So every ambassador has a mission to make as much as the situation. So my challenge was to make our relation both meaningful at the bilateral level, building state and state institutions, and also relying on China to lead at the diplomatic and political level.
Absolutely. I think China has been consistent throughout the decades in supporting the legitimate cause of the Palestinian people. And you have been highly regarded as the Palestinian ambassador to China. You've done excellent work. And I remember you played a critical role in lining up the state visit by Palestinian President Abbas to China last year. Do you mind if you share some of the highlights of that visit and the role you played?
Actually, President Abbas came to China 13 times in his life. So he's familiar with China very much and familiar with of the leaderships. But the last two visits, which I had the honor to organize the first one was 2017, just 1 year after I came here, and the last one was just last year also. And during these 4 years, we accomplished almost everything in the term of bilateral cooperation. Not one area is not yet covered. So we do tourism, we do health, we do everything. I mean, that's why we call it strategic partnership. It's not a bilateral only with a few, sides. And politically speaking, China now stands, at the top of our strategic partners. We do not move, we do not plan, we do not initiate without consulting with China. And China all the time. Palestine is major in its foreign policy, especially dealing with the whole Middle East region. This is one point where China developed a consensus with the Arab world. Where do we stand on Middle East issue and Middle East peace and on Palestine? So the relation reached its pinnacle, I should say. It would be a little bit difficult, maybe my successor to do more, because we had reached almost the top. But still, there is so much wide range in helping us getting out of the trouble right now where we are in.
Absolutely. Personally, I'm very much impressed and touched upon by the China-Palestinian and now China-Arab solidarity and cooperation. And I truly believe that in the world of today, such mutual support, mutual respect becomes even more important.
You know, Victor, when I'm asked about how is the relation between China and its policy when it comes to Middle East issues and to Palestine in particular, I normally would answer them all the time. My understanding is the following. This position that China kept in a consistent manner during all those years is justified for two reasons. Number one, China is respecting its own history. What we are going through, you have gone through already. Foreign occupation.
Many times, yes.
So you cannot resist foreign occupation and deny it as a right for others. Because simply it's repetition of your own experience. So you are loyal to your history.
I agree.
So China has gone through this, and they paid very heavy price. Independence and this prosperity that China did not come on a silver tray. It came through hard and long struggle in which many millions of Chinese have to sacrifice. So when the Chinese are reminded about this history and watch what's happening right now, then they cannot but stand and continue to stand for what they stood themselves.
You're right.
So this is something very essential to justify this position. Why they are talking it? Well, I mean, we were also doing the same. The statement which has been done by the Chinese representative at the ICJ, he was saying Palestinians have the right to struggle and to defend themselves. We practice that in China. So it is enshrined within international law. It's not something that you could call it any other thing. That was a very special statement. All other statements did not go that far.
Beijing Declaration among the different factions of the Palestinian people, and this becomes truly, as you mentioned, increasingly important in a world where we see higher level of turbulence, uncertainty, or destruction, or war crimes in the Middle East.
You are right. You see, it looks now as if it's bleak. The situation is quite tough, as everybody knows, and people are dying as we speak. But I'm still optimistic that with China involvement actively is going to make things different. Because Chinese perspective, not like anybody else, I should say, with all due respect to all players, both regionally and internationally, China strategic understanding that a peaceful Middle East is good for all.
Absolutely, for China, for everyone else.
It's not about polarizing the region, as our American friends, unfortunately, were doing all the time. No, imagine the Arab-China Forum China likes to deal with the Arab as a region,
All right.
not divide and polarize who is against us and who is with us. China never tried to align itself with certain regional countries. So they are working good with Iran, they are working good also with Iran. Still you have got, in a way, good relation even with Israel, but at the same time you would like to strengthen the peace, you know.
Right.
Unfortunately, Israelis are negative with that. China is playing responsibly, that's what I'm saying, as a major power, and looking strategically in what is good for China, in the best interest of China, to have a peaceful, developed region in Middle East.
Yeah.
That's why it's working honestly, without trying to play in a tactical way, you know, and play in a negative way.
Yeah.
That's very helpful for the whole region,
You're
and
right.
I think many countries in our region realize that. So
Ambassador-
everybody trusts the Chinese foreign policy in Middle East. That's why we are counting on it,
You're right.
because it has no really, you know, rejection from anybody in the region.